It can sometimes be hard to find love in a world that seems very sad and oftentimes lonely. And yet there is a basic spiritual truth that we celebrate here on this channel, and that is that love is the name and the nature of God. And if God and I are one, if we are made in the image and likeness of God, then we are made in the image and likeness of love. And so today we are affirming, I am an ever-expanding reservoir of love. I am an ever-expanding reservoir of love. Let me share this Bible passage from Leviticus. I'm reading from Leviticus 19:18. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against any of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against any of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Juan Enrique Toro greeting you on this fine day, welcoming you to the channel once again, reminding you to hit that thumbs up button, give us a like, subscribe so that you're tuned in to the next channels, and of course thank you all for the donations that you give. The links to the donations are below. And so let's explore this idea of love, because oftentimes we're so confused about love. If we ask you to express to have a memory of love, you might bring up somebody that you care very much for. And yet that emotion might be mixed in with some other things of a history that you might have with that person. For example, if you say, you know, I love my grandmother very much, but grandma died 3 years ago. So even though there's a lot of love for grandma, there's also mixed in a lot of sadness about her death a few years ago. So love is sometimes a difficult emotion to actually pinpoint. And this is why it's so important to nurture an understanding of the deeper quality of love. The love that really is born within us, that is an inherent gift of life for us as human beings. What do we do when we feel that the world is sad and lonely, that we don't belong, that we just seem a little bit lost and maybe have lost hope and faith and courage? We have to remember that the love that has been given to us at the moment of our birth is the love that we are. As we say that love is the name and the nature of God. This gives us a clue that love is not just a superficial emotion, but it is really a deep understanding of who and what we are. This is a very important thing. So when, as Leviticus was warning us, when we're judging, when we're condemning, when we're throwing out negativity into the world, all we're doing is reflecting something in us that is not quite found that inner love for ourselves. The minute we judge or condemn another, it's simply an expression of that part of us that is being judged and condemned. As we've said before, giving is receiving. And so we need to be very much aware of where we stand in this expression of love. It's very important for us to have clarity about where love comes from. And love is, we could say, the very nature of being. If God is the nature of being, then love is the nature of being, and it is deep within us. So let's explore today, what do we do in those moments when we catch ourselves maybe feeling a little bit judging, condemning, negative towards others, towards ourselves? It doesn't really matter. How do we cultivate that nature of love within us, this nature of being that is love within us? Well, we can very much understand that in order for us to move from where we are to where we want to be in an expression of love, if we want to claim this idea that I am an ever-expanding, right, reservoir of love, as we're affirming today, We need to make a shift from where we are to where we want to be. And this is perhaps our greatest superpower as human beings, our ability to change, to shift, to be conscious of where we are and know that that's not exactly where we want to be. We come to train ourselves to understand that the thoughts that we hold are not necessarily true. Even though it feels very true at the moment, that person has insulted me, that person has injured me, that I'm feeling like a victim here, like a poor me. The mind will tell you that over and over again. We need to understand that all those thoughts are simply thoughts. And our superpower is our ability to question them and to see if we can't move forward into a new and higher expression of being. So our process of transformation, of coming to claim love as I am a reservoir, I am an ever-expanding reservoir of love, begins with recognizing where you are. And some of you like the word prayer, some of you might like the word talking to God, some of you might just like, therapeutic process, whatever it is, it's perfect. We begin exactly where we are, admitting to ourselves where we are. And we can, I like to talk to myself sometimes. I say, Juan Enrique, you're not really centered in love in this moment. You're judging, you're condemning, your mind is filled with negativity. We really need to make a change here. And that, my friends, is high consciousness right there. It is the beginning of transformation, to know where we are. And so we need to become aware of that and the feelings that brings. I'm aware that I'm condemning and I'm judging and I'm not happy about it. I feel sad about that. I feel lonely. In fact, I understand that the more I criticize others, it's simply a reflection of my own inner criticism. I feel a little sad about that, a little mourning about the way I treat myself and others. But that's where we begin. It's very important to be totally honest and to know, where do we begin? And that's where we begin. And then, of course, we need to go to the next step, which is asking for help. Right? Asking for help puts us in a very humble position. When we ask for help, we're declaring, I of my own self can't do this. And it's obvious that we can't do it because otherwise we would be doing it. So we call in a higher power. We call in a higher awareness, a higher light. I realize that my light is shining, but it's shining dimly right now. I want my light to shine more brightly, so I'm asking for help to let that light shine a little more brightly. And when I do, I'm putting myself in a very humble position, opening myself to greater, higher power forces acting within me. So we've taken step 1, recognizing where we are. Step 2, asking for help. And now we move on to step 3. Step 3 is a declaration that I'm willing to change. I'm willing to let go of the mindset, the thoughts, the beliefs that I've just had, knowing that I'm a victim of the world. I've been treated badly. That person is a bad person. That person's not doing it right. Whatever it is, whatever the thought was, whatever the belief that came up, I am willing to let that go. I'm willing to change it. This is also sometimes very difficult, right? Because we seem so identified with the belief and the thought. It's ours. And when we decide that we want to let it go, we're not exactly sure what we're letting it go in favor of. We have a certain amount of faith. Here's where our faith comes in. Our faith tells us, if I could let this go, I'm going to open up an inner space in which the light, the love, the presence of God, of life, will fill. But I need to open that space within me. So this declaration, you say, I'm willing to let this go. I'm willing to see that, for this moment, I'm not seeing clearly. Right? I'm not seeing myself. I'm not seeing the world clearly. I'm asking for help. I'm willing to change because I know, I have faith that if I let that go, a higher truth, a higher perspective, a higher love will come in. How do we do this? Oftentimes I like to use my imagination. Here's what I'd recommend to you. Remember those emotions that we talked about at the beginning, those emotions about that we're having, feelings, those thoughts, those beliefs. I imagine that I have an open box, empty box before me. And in that box, I'm going to throw in all of the emotions, all of the feelings, all of that negativity that I've just identified. All right? I'm going to hold on, I'm going to put them all in the box, and I'm going to close the box up and seal it up. Right? Now, I've put all of that negativity in the box, and then I take the box, and I imagine, right? I imagine taking this box to a very sacred place. It could be a church, a temple, it could be, someplace in nature, maybe on top of a mountain, maybe in the ocean, right? Create in your mind, this beautiful sacred place where you and God, right, commune. And so you take this box and you place it upon the altar, right? Just see yourself walking with this box, putting it on the altar, sitting back, maybe sit down, kneel down, whatever's appropriate for you. And here's where your imagination, takes hold. Dear God, I put all the negativity that I could identify in that box. I'm asking for help. And I'm declaring now that I'm willing to change. I'm willing to let that box with all its contents go. And so I let my imagination decide how that box is going to disappear. Sometimes it disappears like a magician. Sometimes it melts like an ice cube. Sometimes I launch it up to space. Sometimes it blows up like a bomb. Whatever it is, I see it disappearing. So it's no longer there. And when I do that, I have a corresponding feeling inside myself of, my imagination connected to the heart, seeing that go away. Now, what I've done energetically is I've declared myself willing to let go. And this little exercise of imagination helps me release it. And what you'll notice is that you'll be able to breathe a little deeper, a little more profound, that your mind will be a little bit more expansive. Why? Because you've created this inner space that is now free of the negativity you have just released, right? And now what you're going to do is fill it with love. You're going to fill it with love. And the way I like to do it is to join my breathing to help me do this process. So when I breathe in through the nose, I'm going to breathe in life and love. I'm going to take it to my heart, and I'm going to let it land in my heart and expand out to all of the cells of my body. Breathing in love. Now, when I breathe out, when I exhale, any residual negativity is going to go out. Right? So, breathing in love, releasing negativity. And this is a wonderful meditation. Right? Just focus on breathing in love, releasing negativity. And this way we'll get charged up with love. Every time we breathe in, we feel the love, and then we release the negativity. And how long should we practice this? As long as it takes. As long as it takes for you to feel that sense of transformation inside of you. Sometimes it could be 3 or 4 breaths. Sometimes we go for 30, 40 minutes, an hour, and we're still not free of the negativity. But here's the important thing. Every time we put some sincere effort into this kind of practice, we're doing something. We're doing something very positive, very open, very receptive. Oh, it's a wonderful expression. And eventually, you're going to feel the release, the openness. Now maybe your time ran out, you need to stand up, you need to do something else. Come back to it whenever you're ready, right? We can do this anytime, anywhere, even while engaged in other things. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in love, breathing out any negativity. And all that we're doing here, right, friends, is we're just acknowledging what is already true. The truth is that love is the name and the nature of God. And we are born in the image and likeness of God. So we're born in the image and likeness of love. So we are love. And the more we recognize that, this affirmation, I am an ever-expanding reservoir of love, becomes more and more true for us. It is the light of our being. It is the way in which we were created. It is the very basic of our being, the nature of being, as we've said. And we always end whatever process we're involved in with gratitude, or in this case with love. Expressing love to higher power, to God, to your higher consciousness, to wisdom, to the universe, whatever is appropriate to you. Always end with gratitude, because gratitude is that seal that says, yes, it is done. When we declare that, when we know that, when we feel that, then so it is. We leave that experience and move forward into the new experience that life has for us. And so we can carry this affirmation, I am an ever-expanding reservoir of love, throughout the day. And see how, as we know it, as we repeat it, as we feel it, we see it expressed in greater and greater ways in our world. So, Juan Enrique Toro greeting you on this marvelous day. Once again, thanking you for the thumbs up. The subscriptions really help. The donations are always a tremendous blessing. Thank you all for that. And reminding you today and always, life is consciousness, and consciousness is life.